Good morning, fellas, and welcome back to Me Plays Games, the show that struck out on 2 pitches by not stepping back in the batter's box in time. My name is Matt, and Wii Sports is one of the best-selling video games of all time. A recent study found that 163% of human beings have played it at some point. So as you can probably guess, there's going to be some people who decide to take the game to the next level by speedrunning it. Today, we'll be taking a look at the all-sport speedrun, and I'll explain how it works as we go. For more speedrunning videos, subscribe to Me Plays Games and join our Discord server, link in the description. Alright, let's get started. The world record for this game belongs to Shockwave TLS with a time of 7 minutes, 21.467 seconds. The rules for this speedrun are you need to beat CPUs in tennis, beat CPUs in baseball, complete a game of bowling, play 3 holes of golf, then beat a CPU in boxing. In that order. Why does it need to be that order? Because. Well, let's go through the sports one by one then, shall we? First up is tennis. You might notice that Wave starts with a skill level of 1 as opposed to 0. That's because he manipulated the game into giving him the right CPU opponents. If you start with a fresh Mii profile, you'll get Matt and Miyu as your opponents, but by losing over and over and over, you'll get Shota and Hiroshi, who are slightly worse. It doesn't make that much of a difference, but you have a slightly better chance of getting a good run going. You only need to play 1 game of tennis for the speedrun, and the rules actually allow you to quit out of the game before it says you win. So, Wave pauses and quits as soon as second bounce appears on screen after he scores his final point. This serves 2 purposes. First of all, it's obviously faster to quit than to let the game say you won and take you through 18 billion menus. But if you quit out early, you also don't gain any skill points. That means you won't have to adjust your XP between runs. Next up is baseball, where you start with a skill level of 0 and get Elisa as your opponent. Wii Sports Baseball has a mercy rule where the game ends if you finish an inning with a lead of at least 5 runs. So as you probably guessed, Wave is aiming to score 5 runs in the top of the first, then pitch a scoreless bottom of the inning. Oh man, look at that me, that's great. Anyway, he starts by laying down 4 bunt singles to score 1 run and keep the bases loaded. Then on batters 5 and 6, he intentionally makes 2 outs, following that up with a grand slam on the 7th batter to score the last 4 runs. Then he bunts for the 3rd out and moves on to pitching. I know what you might be thinking, hey Matt, wouldn't it be best to get the home run right after the singles? And yeah, I was wondering the same thing too. Intuitively, it makes the most sense that you would want to score all your runs right away, then make all the outs in a row. In fact, that's what you do when you speedrun MLB The Show. Hit a home run with the first batter, then bunt or strike out in every other at-bat for the rest of the game for a 1-0 win. We're getting off track here. I left a comment on Wave's world record asking about his baseball strategy, as well as other stuff about the run. In his own words, in baseball, easy CPUs have a high chance to drop catches when you bunt for outs. If I'm able to get 1 or 2 outs before bunting for outs, I decrease the chance that they'll drop the ball and give me a single. It doesn't matter when you get your outs as long as you get the home run before you get 3. Basically, Elisa's team is so bad she can actually slow you down if you're not careful. You suck, Elisa. Since you have a 5-run lead, you only need to pitch 1 inning and the game will be over, as long as you don't allow any runs yourself. Wave gets Elisa, Emma, and Luca out on 6 pitches, then pauses and quits as soon as a mercy rule appears on screen. This run lost quite a bit of time on baseball thanks to a foul ball Wave hit in the top of the inning, as well as a long hang time on his home run. Without those 2 things happening, this run would have been on pace for under 7 minutes 10 seconds. You know, I get why Wii Sports has the pitcher lead off when their team is batting. That's the Mii you chose to play out, so of course it gets top billing. But that doesn't happen in real life. Unless your name is Shohei Ohtani, if you're a pitcher, you're usually batting last. Pitchers freaking suck at hitting. Alright then, on to bowling. My intuition led me down a completely wrong path for this one. I thought that it would be optimal to bowl a perfect game, 12 strikes in a row. But, I forgot that if you don't knock down all 10 pins on the last frame, you don't get an extra roll. So it's actually fastest to get 9 strikes, then 2 gutter balls on the 10th frame for a score of 240. That way, you only have to roll 11 times as opposed to 12. As soon as you see game finished on screen, you can quit out and move on to golf. Hello, I believe you're violating about 217 rules of golf. Yeah, we'll get back to whatever this is in a second. Wave actually goes for the intermediate game as opposed to the beginner one, so he plays holes 4, 5, and 6. Hole 4 is pretty straightforward here, but there are some other strats that Wave doesn't go for in this run. Wii Sports Golf has 3 possible pin locations on every hole, and 1 is chosen at random. On hole 4, 2 of them are on the left side of the green and 1 is on the right. For the left pins, you can do the bunker driver chip, where you aim for the bunker on the first stroke, then use your driver to chip the ball into the hole. For the right pin, you aim to hit the ball over the bunker and do the driver chip on the fairway. You could also just go for a hole-in-one, you know, as you do. Golf is difficult to do well for a couple of reasons. For one, golf is just in general the most boring sport in the universe. For one, the wind speed and direction are both random, and you have to react to that and adjust your shots accordingly on the fly. You're also using motion controls, which makes it more difficult to get the exact amount of power you need behind each stroke. The third reason golf is difficult is because of a really weird glitch called the disconnect shot. Runners will actually have the Wii Remote's battery compartment open for this tech. By quickly taking out a battery while you swing to disconnect it, you're basically interrupting the window of time where the game is looking for a swing input. On hole 5, Wave does one of these shots and the ball landed in the water. Then by putting the battery back in and reconnecting the controller, you can actually swing a second time, which tricks the game to thinking you're on the fairway when you're really in the water. Wherever the shot ended is where the game places the ball, which is also how it lands on the green on the second disconnect shot. Wave intentionally hits the ball in the water on hole 6, then does another disconnect shot to land on the green and finish the hole. There's a 2-second time save here that Wave doesn't go for, where you do 2 disconnects instead of 1. Anyway, at the end of hole 6 the pause button is disabled, which means that you'd normally have to go through a bunch of menus before you move on to boxing. But the home button still works, so you can reset the entire game from there, which is faster than letting the golf game end normally. This is actually one place where the console you're using comes into play. Most of the top runs, including the world record, are played on a Wii U, because of the faster load times across the board. The one drawback though is that the Wii U doesn't have a reset button on the console itself, while the original Wii does, so the transition from golf to boxing is faster on the Wii. Overall, the Wii U is the optimal console to do this run on, but it is very possible to get a good time on a Wii. In fact, the second place runner Sphere Cube uses a Wii. And now it's time for boxing. You know, a couple of years ago, my high school had a meme day as part of their Spirit Week, and considering I'm a black guy named Matt with a trillion orange shirts, I think you can guess who I went as. I returned these boxing gloves the millisecond the school day was over. Shoutouts to my friend Melvin for taking this picture, by the way, except I changed his name to protect his privacy. His actual name is Antonio. Anyway, boxing is the only sport in the game that requires a nunchuck, which is just used for the motion controls, because, you know, 2 hands and all that. Wave starts the boxing match with a rating of 75. That's just to avoid the tutorial, since you can't skip it for the first few seconds if you're at 0. Wave doesn't do this to skip the baseball tutorial though, since it's more difficult to lay down bunts for hits against anyone rated higher than Elisa. The run ends when KO appears on screen. And there it is, fellas. That's the Wii Sports All-Sports Speedrun. Sub 7 minutes is possible with the current strats, but you would need near perfect luck and execution to get it. So we'll see where the run goes from here. Good night, fellas, sleep well.